Hi everyone, it's Jennifer from Fiberflux. In this video, I will show you how to crochet the Confetti Newborn Hat. This is a fun and festive little hat that you can crochet to celebrate baby's arrival, and it's super easy to make. And for this project, you'll need a 6.5mm K crochet hook, a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, as an option, a tape measure to measure your hat as you're going along. And for the yarn, I used one skein of Lion Brand's tweed stripes. This hat is the fruity colorway. For this tutorial, I'll be using the same yarn, but in the prism colorway. It's kind of a similar rainbow, but with a more of a blue as the predominant color. You'll also need a little bit of scrap yarn, either in the same color, or I'm going to use some solid worsted weight acrylic yarn. Also, I wanted to mention that I used about a half a skein. You can get about 2 hats from each skein of the tweed stripes. So let's get started. The finished hat has a height of about 6 inches and a circumference of about 14 inches. So the hat also is pretty stretchy and will grow as baby grows too. We're going to begin our hat by putting a slip knot on our hook. And again, I'm using the lion tweed stripes for the main part of the hat, and then later we'll switch off to the solid color for the pom-pom. So to put a slip knot on your hook, wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop. Bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your crochet hook, and bring up the loop, and then tighten onto your hook. Next, we're going to chain 4. To make a chain, wrap yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. That's 1, 2, 3, and 4. In the chain farthest from your hook, we're going to work a slip stitch. Insert the hook into the chain and bring up a loop. Bring that loop through the loop already on your hook, and we now have a ring that we'll be working all of the stitches into. To work round 1, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. This counts as our first double crochet. Then we're going to work 11 double crochets into the center of the ring. To make a double crochet, wrap yarn around hook, insert it into the ring, and bring up a loop. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the first 2 loops. Wrap yarn around hook, bring it through the last 2 loops. So that's 1 double crochet, 2, 3, 4, 5, get some more yarn here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, next we're going to join where we began with a slip stitch to close the round. And then what I like to do before proceeding is to just make sure I've counted correctly. So this was our starting chain, so that counts as 1. So we should have 12 of these wheel spokes. So let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that was 11 double crochets plus the starting chain to make 12 of these wheel spokes. So let's move on to round 2. To work round 2, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to work a double crochet into the first space. This hat is worked, the stitches are worked into the spaces versus the stitches. So what I mean by that is each one of these double crochets that we worked in the previous round will have a little stitch at the top. We're going to be working in between the double crochet posts in these spaces. Okay, so the first space that you come to, work a double crochet, just like that, into the space. Then in the next space, we're going to work 2 double crochets. Okay, so then this next space right here, 2 double crochets. 1 and 2. Okay, so we're just going to repeat this sequence all the way around. So in the next space we'll work 1 double crochet. In the next space after that we'll work 2 double crochets. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets all the way around our circle. Okay, so in the next space work 1 double crochet. Let's get some more yarn. In the next space after that, we're going to work 2 double crochets. In the next space after that, 1 double crochet. In the next space after that, 2 double crochets. So we're starting to slowly increase the top or the crown of the hat. Next space, 1 double crochet. Next space, 2 double crochets. And this is a very fast hat. And I wanted to mention also that this particular yarn is machine washable. So this hat and yarn, or any other machine washable yarn that you like, makes a great charity project, because most charities that accept hats like the hats to be machine washable so they can be sterilized before distributing. So in the next space we'll work a double crochet. The next space, 2 double crochets. So we're almost to the end of our round here. And then in this last space, 1 double crochet. Okay, so your circle should look pretty much like this. And then we've arrived back at this starting chain that we made at the beginning of our round. So we're simply going to work a slip stitch where we started to close the round. And then I also wanted to mention the previous round that I worked, I wove this end in as I went along. I just kind of held the tail along the edge. So we can go ahead and trim that. You can do all this at the end, but I like to trim it as I go along because it kind of keeps it out of the way while I'm working. Okay, so it should look kind of like this. So let's move on to round 3. To work round 3, we're simply going to just repeat round 2. So what we did for round 2, we're just going to do for this round as well. Okay, so to begin, we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And in the first space, we're going to do the same thing. Work a double crochet. In the next space, work 2 double crochets. And I wanted to mention that this variegated yarn is really fun to work with. You can see this round, the colors are starting to change a little bit. And they will, as you can see in this hat too. Nice, colorful yarn. Okay, in the next space, work a double crochet. Next space, 2 double crochets. Just repeating this sequence all the way around our hat. So I worked a double crochet in that space. Next space, 2 double crochets. Next space, 1 double crochet. Next space, 2 double crochets. Next space, 1 double crochet. and the next space 2 double crochets. Get some more yarn here. These larger hooks, you go through the yarn pretty quickly. So the next space, 1 double crochet, next space, 2 double crochets, next space, 1 double crochet, next space, 2 double crochets. It's really pretty how this round is more purpley. The round before it was pretty blue. So next space, 1 double crochet, next space, 2 double crochets, and the last space, 1 double crochet to finish off the round. Then where we began, we're going to join with a slip stitch. Okay, so it's starting to look a little bit hat-like so far. So let's move on to round 4. To work round 4, we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. And in this round, this chain 3 will count as a double crochet. So what we're going to do is skip this first space, and then in the space after that, we're going to work a double crochet. Just like that. Then we're going to work a double crochet in each space all the way around. So go ahead and just work a double crochet in the next space, double crochet in the next space, double crochet, double crochet, all the way around. And this is the final round of the pattern because the rest of the hat will be just repeating this round. So as you can see, you'll go through each round of your hat pretty quickly. Get some more yarn, and if you notice, our yarn is starting to change colors again. So using variegated yarns of any kind really are a fun way to add a little something extra to an easy pattern. And they're fun when you're crocheting the project because the color changes make each stitch interesting. Okay, so again, we're just working a double crochet in each space all the way around. There we go. Let's try that one more time. There we go. And again, these are great hats for charity. If you like to donate hats to a hospital or a local charity of your choice, be sure and call first to see if they are first accepting donations of handmade items and also what the criteria are. Some hospitals are a little different, they differ. So we've come to the end of our round. We're just going to do the same thing. Join with a slip stitch to close the round. Okay? So to finish your hat, you're just going to keep repeating round 4 over and over and over again until your hat is about 6 inches from the beginning. So round 4, round 4, round 4, just keep going with that. Then you'll fasten off. So I have here a hat that I've been working on, and I worked my hat again until it measured about 6 inches from the beginning. So I'm just going to show you, we'll put our little hat over here aside. So I'm just going to show you how to finish that off. And as you can see, our hat is much bigger. So we're just going to do the same thing. I'm just working that very last round And then you'll just fasten it off. Just like that. See, I just have just a teeny tiny bit of yarn left. You may have more depending on your tension and how many of these hats that you make. Then you're going to take your tapestry needle and you're just going to thread it. And then just weave in the end. I like to go in one direction. And because this is variegated yarn, try and keep, at the best you can, but try to keep the colors together. So see, I have like this blue and yellow, I'm trying to keep it in the blue and yellow section instead of taking it up into this pink section. That way you don't have this blue strand traveling through the pink area. So I just went in one direction, then came down in the other direction. Then you'll just trim. So at this point you can decide if you'd like to have a pom-pom on your Confetti Newborn Hat, or if you would like to make it without the pom-pom. So if you'd like to put a pom-pom on, keep watching. I'm going to show you how to do that. We're going to make a quick pom-pom together using no special tools at all, just our hand and a pair of scissors. And then I'll show you how to attach it. So I have here some solid worsted weight acrylic yarn. I would encourage you to just use your scraps. Pom-poms are a great way to use scrap yarn. If you have a little bit left over from your skein, you can also make a fun multicolored pom-pom. Okay, so we're going to make this one in lavender, and it's going to look like this when we're finished. So when I make pom-poms, I like to do them in my hand. If you have a preferred way of making them, definitely feel free to do that. You can get a pom-pom maker. You can make your own by cutting a piece of cardboard. So to begin your pom-pom, just cut about 8 or 12 inches or so, just a piece of yarn, and then you can set that aside. Then what you're going to do is take a strand in your hand and just kind of let this tail fall down. And then you're going to wrap the yarn around all of your fingers. If you want to make a small pom-pom, you can wrap the yarn around 3 fingers or 2 fingers. But we want our pom-pom to be a pretty good size. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap the yarn until you have a nice thick bundle. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and we'll rejoin in just a moment. So I went ahead and wrapped the yarn around my hand. As you can see, I have a nice thick bundle. For those of you who are more technical, I wound the yarn around my hand about 125 times. So if you need an idea of how big to make your bundle. Obviously for a nice, full, densely packed pom-pom, you'll wrap your yarn more times to make it thicker. If you like a more looser, airier looking pom-pom, you can do less times. Okay? So what we're going to do is also, we left a tail hanging down here. We're going to leave another tail to finish. Just let that hang down. The next part, you're going to carefully slip this little bundle off of your hands. And don't let any of the loops come undone. Just try and keep it exactly the way it was on your hand. And then you're going to kind of cinch it in the middle like that. Next, you're going to take that piece of yarn. Remember that piece of yarn we cut at the beginning? We can get this out of the way. And you're going to wrap the yarn around this bundle. I like to lay mine down on the table. How you do it is totally up to you. Just try and keep it all together, however you do it. Okay? So just tie that bundle as tight as humanly possible. Make it super, super tight. Okay? Hang on to these strands. These strands we do not want to cut. Those will be the strands, these 2 strands that we just tied. These will be the strands that you will use to tie your pom-pom onto the top of your hat. Okay? So the next thing we're going to do, and I have these little tiny scissors. Bigger scissors when you're making your pom-pom might be a little bit more helpful. But anyway, go ahead and cut all of these loops that you see. Every single one. Taking care not to cut these 2 strands. So I like to just hold on to them as I'm cutting because you don't want to cut those off. Okay, so go ahead and just cut all of these loops that you see. And as you can see, as we're cutting these loops, it's looking pretty wild. So we're going to give it a little haircut in just a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and cut all these loops, and we'll rejoin in just a moment. So we've cut all the loops of our pom-pom, and as you can see, it's pretty wild looking. And unlike our finished pom-pom that's nice and neat. You see how this one's densely packed? We're going to go ahead and give our pom-pom a haircut. So what I like to do, again keeping these strands well out of the way, is come up from underneath of it like this and kind of fan it out. That way you can just kind of trim it like that and then go back and do any touch-up work that you need to do. So I'm going to go ahead and begin trimming. And this is kind of a fun part of making the pom-pom. You can really shape it up and get it just the way you want it. So go ahead and just trim all these little strands until you get it nice and neat looking with no crazy ends sticking out. So I gave my pom-pom a little haircut, and as you can see, it's a little smaller, but it's still a good size for this hat. So you'll want to save your clippings in case you make little pillows or stuffed toys, or if you want to save them for the birds. The birds like to use stuff like this to build nests in the spring. You can just move all this aside, all these little clippings. So I'm going to show you how to add the pom-pom to your hat. So what you want to do is grab your hat and a tapestry needle and your scissors. And then what you want to do is just thread your tapestry needle. And then I like to just kind of reach in, locate the middle. Don't go in the center hole, but go a little bit off to the side. Just pull that strand through. Then you're going to take your other strand from your pom-pom, thread the needle, and we inserted the first strand over to this side, so come across to the other side, go right in there like that. Okay, then I'm holding both strands from the inside of the hat. Then we're going to go to the inside of the hat, and we're just going to tie it. I just did 1 knot. This is an optional step, but a step that I like to do to keep this hat from the pom-pom, from flopping around. And anytime you make things for kids and babies, you want everything to be really, really secure. Okay, so just I threaded one of the strands and then just take the tapestry needle and go straight across. We're just going to add a little extra stitch just to keep that pom-pom nice and secure and in place. Okay, and just do the same for the other strand. Come across, come across. Again, this is optional. I just like to add this little step in there. Okay, now knot it really, really well. Not too many though, because you don't want this like huge knot poking into the top of the baby's head. So then you'll have 2 strands, and then you can just weave those in. Because I'm weaving purple into yellow, the pom-pom on the other side is going to hide this a little bit, but you just want to try and stay in the middle when you weave it in. You don't want to go all the way down the side, because then you'll see this purple strand traveling through. Well, my hat is a yellow area. You might have a different color based on the yarn that you choose and how the variegated yarn plays out. So you'll just want to thread the other strand. Just go in one direction, come in the other direction, and that pom-pom will be nice and secure Won't be going anywhere. Okay. Then we can turn our hat back out. You just want to double check, make sure everything, the pom-pom is centered, everything looks good. It'll move a little, but I can feel that it's really, really on there. It's nice and secure. And when you use this variegated yarn, we now have two hats we can compare side by side. So I got both of these hats out of one skein of the tweed stripes. So you can see when I began my hat, this one was more of the yellow and the green. This one was like a pink and green, and it kind of changed to green into pink. And the hats look different. They still are coordinated, but they're very, very cute. So that is how you crochet the Confetti Newborn Hat. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the red subscribe button to get all the latest Fiberflux video updates. Thanks again.